I'm that guy, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. It happened because we were friends at the right moment and both had like a lot to say emotionally. Yeah, my name's Tim Jordan. I'm 26. I just turned 26 like 4 days ago.
Wow.
I'm an artist in a couple different ways, but most notably, probably, I'm in a band called 11120, where we throw events, so we produce our own events. We make a little bit of money from that. We make our own merch and stuff. So we're booting up like manufacturing, production stuff for like merch, because we've outsourced it a lot of times to other people. So yeah, hopefully we're going to be making more money back from all of that once we kind of have more control over the means of production. I'm a bartender.
Yeah.
So I work at a restaurant called La Industria. It's in Tualatin, Oregon. And we make great tacos and burritos. And yeah, I be shaking drinks and pouring beers.
Yeah.
Lots of margaritas. Tips. I make money on tips. Generosity of strangers. Where'd I grow up? I moved here when I was 6. So I moved to Lake Oswego area. And then I didn't go to public school until I was 12. Before that, I was like homeschooled basically, which basically meant just like hanging out with my mom. And we didn't really do school stuff. Mm-hmm. But I don't know, when I started at 6th grade, I was okay. I was in the talented and gifted program, whatever the that means. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I probably had a little bit of a hard time adjusting socially, but it ended up being okay. So I always liked stories a lot, like words. But it wasn't until like in high school I went to see like this show that the seniors did, and I was like blown away by like how expressive it was, and how I was like, I could do that. All you have to do is like yell about you have to just like access that energy, and I was like, I can do that. So I auditioned and didn't get in, but I got into like the a cappella choir, and then senior year I made it into like the other choir, and we like did like crazy. And that's when I started making music with Kyle. But it was like I had a bunch of poems from like a breakup that I had gone through, and so like I had like a notebook full of like words and thoughts and feelings. And then like when I became friends with Kyle, we just wrote a ton of songs, and it was like very easy because I was already singing. He was already playing a bunch of instruments. He was just starting to become familiar with like Logic and like the digital audio workstations. And then I took a gap year, traveled a decent amount right after high school when I was 18, and then I went to college in Boston, and then finished school in Los Angeles. I went for writing, literature, and publishing, which is cool, but there's no jobs in writing or publishing. Doesn't matter what you like. Words are very cheap, and I'm not knocking anyone who has writing related jobs. Like I totally tried to get those jobs, but then COVID happened. Respect to people who like words. I like words too. I didn't want to write copy for like a corporation, and I didn't want to do like copy editing. I was down to do like book editing, but I couldn't find that right when I graduated. Not that that's even what I wanted to do. I just wanted to make money as an artist. But then so that's what I'm still trying to find, that income stream. So we make a little bit of money, but not enough so I don't have to shake drinks. Obstacle-wise, like I'm super fortunate. I've got all my limbs; they all work well, and I grew up in a loving household that still, supports me and wants me to do well, and understands enough that that they understand what I'm trying to do. Mm-hmm. That's huge. Like just those things alone are huge. I don't know. Capitalism is an obstacle. I got convinced by society, I guess, to just go to college and like go to spend ridiculous amounts of money on school. So I have student debt, but I've paid back a majority of my student debt from bartending. So that's like insane. I didn't understand like how much money is really there, and how much money they're asking. You couldn't possibly wrap your brain around it, and like connecting hours to money. And then when you have a job and you're paying for all your hours, are very connected to money. And maybe there's not even any jobs like for what they're studying for. Like my degree was like a joke as far as like almost every part of it. And so I have a lot of resentment. I have a lot of resentment towards like the college as an institution. The practice of teaching students about a dead or dying industry and being like, this is your lesson plan today. And it's like, here is a history of a dead industry. And it's like, this is not helpful. And you're convincing these kids who are paying ridiculous amounts, who are spending their life savings, their family's life savings, you're convincing them that that they can make a living doing something that you know, you can't do anymore. Which is basically, in my position, was like magazine formatting and like doing like copy writing for like different, like there's a few jobs there, but like there was like a magazine publishing course that was like pitched as like a thing that like you would need to know. Just frustrations, like things like that. I don't know. I don't like to talk about my obstacles because I feel like I'm my only obstacle. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's a lot. The first thing I learned was that I'm weird. I'm weird. I'm not the way that what I'm trying to do is like not what everyone else is trying to do. The way that a lot of my peers are like making decisions is just not what I was trying to do at all. And like I was met with that realization at every like step, like at college, like even though I went to an art school, a lot of people were not trying to do what I was trying to do and like didn't have the same like energy and like ambition. Not that they didn't have the same ambition, because that's not what I mean. It's just like I feel like I'm a crazy person. Like I feel like I like what my like the natural instinct of like what I want is totally not fitting with like what is happening out here. And so it's like been like this process of like trying to meet myself in the middle, like because like the natural what my instinct is, or like the intuition of it, is just like so intense.
Right.
Yeah, it's an internal thing. It's just me versus me every single day. Like there's not really like a thing, like an external thing that could help, because you get in your own way, and that's really the thing. It's like you just get in your own way because like you have doubtful thoughts, or you are you get distracted by other problems you want to solve that have nothing to do with like your life path or career or earlier artistic journey. You're solving other people's problems, or you're trying to convince someone else of your value, of your worth, your whatever it is that gets in your way. It's usually yourself getting in your own way rather than some external force that's like this ambiguous. No, it's the same for everybody. Obviously, I'm very privileged, so I'm not saying that like we all are saying on the same playing field at all.
Right.
But like, you want to blame like there's an issue here, and like if I just had money, if I just had a certain type of support, then I would be able to flourish in this way. But that's not how I feel personally. Yeah, I feel like it's like right there in front of me, and it's sort of mine to grab.
Yeah.
But the grabbing process is sort of like where it gets complicated. I would posit the advice of like, if you know what you want to do right out of high school, just start doing it. Like, because regardless of whether you go to college, like that will be extra time for like you guys are doing. Like you guys are like, you're going to film school, you're standing behind a camera, you're getting paid for your time. So like, just do that. Like, if you know what you want to do right out of high school, just start doing it. Because like people want cheap help and people who are passionate, and like young people are super excited. And like when you're young, you don't know that your excitement is valuable, because like people are not excited. Like everyone's looking for a job, but like very, very few times are you like excited about the job you have. And like, when you're young and you're excited about it, those skills are super valuable. Being able to show up on set, like if you're a production assistant, and just like do whatever they want to and not complain and like have a great time, people will love you.
Yeah.
If you don't know what you want to do, taking some time is never a bad thing. Whether you're working for your gap year or whether you're doing something cheap and traveling. What I wanted was like some time where I wasn't being expected to like accomplish somebody else's task. I just wanted some time to like sit with my thoughts, let myself like process some of the stuff that I'd just gone through, and not just like jump into another task. And I wouldn't say like don't go to college, because that's its own terrible advice.
Totally.
But be aware, like try to get in-state tuition. Like don't be afraid if you're like a liberal arts kid, an art kid. Don't be afraid to take some STEM classes and take some classes that will challenge you. Maybe consider getting a degree if you're an art kid. Get a degree in something that has nothing to do with the arts, because the arts will always be there, and you don't go to school to learn how to be an artist. Like no one's gonna teach you that at art school. They're gonna teach you all the ways that you can make someone else's vision come true, and like that is what because that's where the jobs are in the arts, and that's what they're teaching you to do in school. So like I have a friend who plays keys, and he's getting his degree in math, because math is like his hobby. He likes math. Math is just like interesting to him.
Right.
but music is like his career. He's a music teacher. He's like 19. And so he doesn't go to school for music. He goes to school for math. I think that's a great way to do it, because that way, you know, he's making money doing music now, just teaching, and he's like learning about that he finds interesting, that he could potentially have more of a way to make money.
Right,
I
yeah.
don't know. If you have like a dream, I know how to give you advice.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have a dream, my only advice is like find one out, like and really take time to do that, because it's important. But if you have something, have an inkling of an idea of what you want, what you might want to do. I think like the Childish Gambino advice, where he says like, if you feel nervous, then you're going the right way, or something like that. You know, listen to like the tiny voice that's like gives you like the little advice about keep going. And there's a million reasons that you should like stop doing the little steps that get you a little bit farther. But like understanding that like that nervous anxiety you feel that is related to like you taking that one next step, that is good. That means that you're on. That feeling is like exactly what you want, because it means like that anticipation. It's because you care about it. It's because you care about it, and it's because like, and if you care about it, it means that like it's gonna be good, because you care. And once you start doing it, you're gonna start freaking out and feeling things that you don't even know that you could feel, because like you care about this thing that you actually have control over. Like the nervousness behind it is an indication that, you know, you're on the right path. Spend time like doing the tedious part of it, because it pays dividends for sure. Check out Sucker Lake Records. I'll just do the shameless plug.
No,
Stream 10120.
that was next.
Stream Lanesboro. Stream Max Bunster. Stream Nick Smiley. You can find me on Instagram. It's Tim_Schmim. Like Schmitza, SHMIM.
Yeah.
I'm everywhere that Sucker Lake Records is. Yeah. Send good vibes. We're trying to take over the world.
Dope. Yeah, awesome. Thanks for being a part of this. This is sweet. We're excited to see the final footage.